me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so 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 light my
Matthew. Aloha, everybody. Aloha in Hawaiian is the greeting for hello and goodbye, but it also has a beautiful, deeper meaning, and that it also means the breath of God, which is beautiful. And we spent this last week at our friend's place called Polestar, and they said, please send our warmest greetings from our ohana. Ohana means spiritual family, the deeper meaning, to our ohana in Portland and Laurelwood. Many of you know Michael and Ann, and it was just, it was truly a refreshing time for us, deeply inspiring, restful. We got our sense of humor back, as Diva says. It's just been beautiful. So, but you know, there's no place like home. And Diva always says Portland is just like Hawaii minus how many degrees today? That's quite a bit. Anyway, our topic, our affirmation this morning on happiness reminds me of the story. I think we've shared it before, but it's so delightful. These two friends had not seen each other in a while, and they crossed paths. And one looked really forlorn, and on the verge of tears. And his friend said to him, "Why do you look so sad, my dear friend?" And he said, "Oh, let me tell you a story. About 3 weeks ago, an uncle of mine passed away, and he left me $40,000. And the friend said, "Wow, that's a lot of money." And he says, 2 weeks ago, I had a cousin that I didn't even know I had passed away, and she left me $85,000, free and clear." And the friend replies, "What a blessing." And the friend got irritated. He goes, "No, you don't get it. Last week, an aunt passed away, and she left me about $250,000. And the friend said, "You know, I just don't get it. Why do you look so sad?" And the friend replied, "Well, this week, nothing." There's a wonderful story that's told that many, many years ago, God created the entire cosmos. He created the stars and the planets, and the mountains and the rivers, and the plants and the animals. And then his last creation was the human being. And then he asked the human being, he said, "I want to create one more thing, but I want human beings to have a hard time finding it. I don't want it to be visible like all these other parts of my creation is." He said, I want to create happiness. And I want them to be able to look for it so that when they find it, they'll really know what it is. And so the little co-workers who helped them with the creation started to think about, where can we put happiness? And one got so excited, he said, I know, we can put it at the bottom of the ocean. It'll take a long time for the human being to find it. And then they realized, eventually we're going to get to the bottom of the ocean and find happiness. And then another coworker said, oh, I know, we can hide it out in outer space. It'll probably take a long, long time before happiness is found there. And then they realized, eventually we're probably going to go to the moon and even Mars, so that's not a good place. And then finally a little coworker got so excited, he jumped up and down and he said, I know. Let's hide it deep inside of our hearts, because that's probably the last place we're going to look for happiness, right? We're going to look for it in what? In all these outer things, our possessions, power, our jobs, our relationships. And so all the other coworkers finally thought, they said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And God thought so too. So that's why he created happiness deep in our hearts. And that's what our affirmation echoes so beautifully this morning. Where are we going to find that joy but inside? And sometimes we have to dig a little deeper to understand what's going on the surface, right? It can look a little rocky. It can just not make sense. The last day before we left, we went snorkeling, which is one of my most favorite things to do. But as you're sitting on the shore and you're putting on your fins, struggling with your fins and putting on your mask, you're peering over the water and you can't really see anything. And you're asking whoever's already in the water, do you see any fish? Is there any? You don't see anything till you get in under the water. And then what do you see? You see big fish, you see little fish, you see shark bait, you see all sorts of things. And then what do you see? You see the coral, you see all this underwater life, and you see that it's all drawing from a greater source of inspiration. It's drawing from the ocean, right, for its life. And I was so excited to be in the water, to go snorkeling. I waited the whole trip. It was the last day. And so I start swimming really fast. I was so excited, creating lots of waves. And I go out towards the ocean. The further out you got, the bigger the fish got. It was so exciting. Big fish, Then I got a little scared and I started coming back in. But at one point I said, you know what? What happened if I were to get still? And I got still and I didn't see anything at first. I go, maybe I should move on to another coral area. But then I started to see the fish come out, started to see life. And I even saw this little fish looked at me as if he saw me, as if he recognized me from another lifetime or something. He came swimming all the way up to me and I could see his lips, and then he went. And then another one was right there. And then again, he came like so excited to see me. And then when he got real close, he, went right. Cute. But it's just like us. We can't see things happen, right? On the surface, things happen in our lives. We can't see why that happens. We can't see why this relationship falls apart, or why this happens to us at work, or why this family member hurts us, or whatever it is. We can't see on the surface what's happening. And so we have to get still. That's what our affirmation and our reading is reminding us. We have to get still so that we can see what's really going on. And how do we do that? But in meditation, right? The Bible says those strong two words, be still and know. Be still and know. Otherwise, you can't know. Otherwise, if we're swimming so wildly because we're so excited to see the big fish, we're so excited to get whatever we're getting in this lifetime, the new house, the vacation, everything ends. Even a trip to Hawaii, you have to come back, wherever it is. Very few people can live there like our friends do year-round. But even that, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. The frogs were gone. They have these coqui frogs. And because they're having a dry spell there, they're on the wet side of the big island Hilo. When it rains, the coqui frogs come out, and I guess they're really, really loud. We were there, it was dry, we barely heard them, but they were like, you don't realize how quiet it is. I'm like, oh no, They said, it is so loud everywhere, even in paradise, nothing's perfect. But be still and know, we're constantly reminded it's in that stillness. What happens in that stillness? We can feel that joy. That's what we're talking about, that everlasting happiness. It's not going to go away. but it has to be by deep and regular meditation. You know, one blessing we had on this trip is we got to meditate regularly. Our friends have a really strong sadhana there, spiritual practice, morning and night, afternoon, and we stuck it. You know, that's the one thing we were going to do. We had nothing else pulling on us. We stuck to it, and I got to see the value of a strong and steadfast practice, morning, noon, and night. By the end of it was just 8 days, I was a different person. Yes, I was in Hawaii, yes. You know, I was eating all this tropical fruit and all that, but it was deeper than that. So much deeper. We can have that wherever we are. We can be in Portland, we can be in New York City, we can be anywhere and feel for that joy, that deep joy right in the middle, so that whatever happens, we go on vacation, we come back. We go on vacation, we come back. We're always there, we're always happy, okay, whatever happens. I want to end, Daiva will be sharing also, but I've read this before. This is called, Yogananda wrote this. I don't know when he wrote it. It's called Your Training in the School of Life, and it talks about lasting happiness. And I think it's a nice way to end my part of the sharing. Lasting happiness is the most important thing to strive for in the school of life. Your mind must be charged with joy, detaching yourself from all unpleasant experiences. You must practice that which develops body, mind, and soul. Mental and physical idleness are detrimental to spiritual development, so you must be active, not constantly active, but always relax completely when not active. Know the purpose of life. The dance of life and death is going on all the time, but each one of you is able to become free from this tangle because you have within you the power to become great, not by imitating anyone, but by salvaging your divine status. It is only by finding the beloved of the ages, God, that you can find happiness. He has been pursuing you through incarnations, but you have forgotten him. Plain living and high thinking must be your motto. You must not forget God, for he gave you life. As you work and create, remember that it is God who is working through you. God is the master of the universe, and you can contact him through meditation. Do not go to bed until you have entered the temple of silence and feel that you have strengthened your willpower so that in the future you will not be controlled by circumstances, but you will control them. You must develop your willpower by striving to do things that you have thought you would not be able to do, but you must work for others as well as for yourself. This world is a changing drama. You can't find uniform conditions all the time, but don't worry about it. You are more fortunate than people in any other part of the world. That is according to the divine plan, so that you may be able to help others. Do not drown in the river of life when you encounter the strong storms of trails. But be a real boatman, and you will learn how to row across the tumultuous river of life onto the shores of God. With unceasing blessings, Paramahansa Yogananda.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Good morning, everybody. Mahalo for being here. It's really lovely to be back. It was a wonderful journey. And Yogananda tells a story of a man who was very, very saintly. And he spent his life serving others and giving of himself, so much so that God decided it was time for a reward for him, to give him, a great gift in exchange for all that he had done on God's behalf. And so he sent a messenger, it was probably Narada. He sent him down to earth and he said, offer this man a chance to go to the heavenly realms, to the astral world. And so Narada went up to this little saint and he said, excuse me, but you've been working very hard on God's behalf. You've done all this fabulous work, and God would like to give you a blessing, and he'd like to send you to the astral world. And the man said, oh, well, tell me about this astral world. Tell me what this is about. And Narada said, well, it's beautiful. It's temperate all the time. It's lush and rich. The colors are magnificent. The sounds are so pristine and pure and beautiful. There's no stress. There's no tension. Everything works to your benefit. And the saint says, well, this sounds absolutely lovely. This sounds fabulous. Is there any downside? And Narada paused and said, well, that's a funny question. But yes, actually, there is, because as you come close to the end of your time, if you still have karma left, if you'll have to return to this world, and as your time in the heavenly realms starts to fade, a sense of sadness and loss will come over you as you prepare to return to this world where you struggle and where it's hard and stuff. And the saint looked up at Narada and he said, the price of this sounds so awful, so horrible, I would choose not to go. He said, I think I will just stay here until all my karma is wiped out and I can stay in the heavenly realms forever. So on coming back from Hawaii, we were pondering this a little bit. I remember I went sailing back 30 years ago, 25 years ago, in the Sea of Cortez with my parents. And it had been an extremely trying period of my life. And we sailed for 3 weeks. And it was a wandering sadhu's life. There was a lot of work to keep the boat ship shape. But other than that, it was just meditation and the wind and the light and this. And as in Hawaii, the ocean there, the land down there is very barren, it's desert-like, and very little life shows. But the ocean, you look out across it, and life is just spilling out of it. It's so fecund, it's so fertile. And you would scuba dive and skin dive and look underneath the ocean, and it was just teeming with life. And I remember for 3 weeks we just sailed, and it was just absolutely time out of time. And then about 2 days before it was time to come back, because I knew what I was coming back to. Growth is hard. Spiritual growth is hard. It's real work. I found myself shaking. And for 2 days, I found myself kind of just like this. And it wasn't conscious. It wasn't, I wasn't even aware of the dread, but I could feel it building. And one day, and I realized what was going on and came back. And sure enough, it was difficult again. But you can't hide out. The things that are there for us to learn are the things that are there for us to learn. They're always there. There's a lovely little reading from Whispers from Eternity. This is, bless me, that I may know that I am dreaming, even though my senses tell me that I am awake. It's number 173. As we rest in sleep, wake in the morning of our daily round of desperate seeming but only half-conscious activity, then fall back to sleep again at night. So also do we pass fleetingly from birth to life to death again, waking ever and again in new bodies, dashing about our appointments and other commitments, delighting in them or groaning at their importunity, then finding ourselves forced to leave everything at death's next summons, dream after dream of ceaseless earthly struggles. On the sleigh of incarnations, we find ourselves sliding by hopes and disappointments, victories and failures, fulfillments and disillusionments. When the smooth snow of easy passage melts and the underlying ice of insecurity breaks, we find ourselves plunged into heaving seas, eddies of gay, then desperate laughter, sargassos of cloying involvements, vast calms of indifference, and all only dreams. When at last I awoke in thee, I discovered that I'd been dreaming all along. I'd only thought I was awake. The path, life after life after life, we operate and act and convince ourselves that we know what we're doing. I remember years ago, Erica, our daughter, was very tiny, well, young. And she and her friends, we lived at Ananda Village, which was about 15, 20 miles away, about half an hour drive from where she went to school. And I was driving them into school. I would pick them up during the weeks I had her, and I'd drive them into school. And it was fabulous because I got to hear and feel what their lives were like. They'd sit in the back seat and they'd be talking the whole time we'd drive in. And I got to just kind of be a fly on the wall and listen in. And I could tell an enormous amount about their lives and about their consciousness and what they were going through and growing without them ever having to tell me, right? Because I was invisible. I was just the chauffeur. And I remember one day, they were sitting in the back talking with absolute enthusiasm and certainty about things that were absolutely not true. There was no point of contact between what they were saying and how life works. And they were so absolutely in it and talking back and forth. It was like this work of fiction, and they were just completely immersed in it. And I realized this is us. There's Dad driving the car, holding space, loving them, creating a safe environment, carrying them to where they'll grow. They'll take the next steps of growth at school and greater understanding. No sense of judgment. It didn't matter. It wasn't like, oh, you stupid kids. It was just, this is the best they know. This is what it looks like through their eyes. This is just it. And in fact, even a sense of tenderness and a sense of warmth around the fact that they were trying so sincerely to put life together and operate with the best they knew, and they were just missing every single point, but they were doing it enthusiastically with great joy. And that's all really that carries us, is that joy, and it made me reflect on my own life. It made me reflect also on the teachings that we have, because the Bhagavad Gita, part of the Mahabharata, it's the Hindu Bible. It's the story of God as Krishna driving the chariot with the student in back, right? And the student thinks he knows what's supposed to happen, and Krishna just drives the chariot to where he's going to learn the next lesson, and then the next lesson, and then the next lesson. And there's this great conversation, which is what the Bhagavad Gita is, where the disciple, the student, the child, is talking with God, is talking with Krishna. Arjuna is talking with Krishna. And he's saying all these things that he is so convinced are absolutely true. Over there is on the other side for this battle, they're facing battle. And he says, over there on the other side of this battle, there's my grandfather and all my relatives and my cousins and all my friends. I grew up with all these people, and I know they're evil, I know they're horrible, I know they're terrible people in many ways, but they're mine. And how can I go to battle with them? If I kill them, the world, will accuse me of having, destroyed my own relatives. I don't feel it in my heart. I absolutely won't fight. It's adharmic. It's wrong to do this thing. It was listening to the kids in back. And it says in the Bhagavad Gita, as if smiling, the Lord answers. And he basically says, I hear you. And you're using the words of the wise to espouse the understanding of an idiot. That's really what he says. You're using all these wise words. You have the words right, but your application, your understanding of how it really works is wrong. He says, and then he goes on to explain, you were born to fight. You were born for this battle. You're born to grow. You're born to learn. You're born to go out every day, get in the back of the car, and let Dad take you to school and go and try and figure it out. And then you come back and you have this great conversation with your friends, and you just miss the point again. But you do it with enthusiasm, and you get a little closer. And then a little closer and a little closer. And gradually you grow up, and pretty soon you're driving the kids. And it's how it works. There's so much we can't see. Gangamata alluded to it. There's so much we can't see. I'm a scuba diver from years ago, and there's an old scuba diving saying. It says, one earth, two worlds. And as she said, when you're above the water, the surface of the water, you have no idea what's in that ocean. But you put on your mask, and you just dip even just slightly beneath the surface, and a whole universe opens up. It's what the masters say about meditation. It's what they say about the stillness and the depth of our own soul in contact with spirit. Everything that we're looking for is in that, is under the surface of the restlessness, under the surface of the waves, under the busyness of what's in front of us. And if we don't go diving, we miss it all. We miss it all. The joy we're seeking, the inspirations we're seeking, the wisdom, the power, the clarity, the capacity to share with others meaningfully, not just to espouse our own ignorance enthusiastically as we do when we're kids and ignorant, but to grow in understanding. It's all under there, and if we don't go under the surface, we never find it. So the masters encourage. Ananda is born to support us diving beneath the surface so that we can get out of this constant stream of restlessness. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what your body looks like. It doesn't really matter whether your body even works or not very well. And eventually it's not even going to matter whether you have one or not, because frankly you're going to lose it. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to pop off. And if you don't know yourself past the surface, what happens when you lose the body is you go to sleep. You lose awareness because you're not in tune with. It's like instead of you go into the ocean, but you're terrified of it, so you close your eyes. If you haven't done the diving, people who don't know how to swim, they're terrified of the water. They're terrified to look underneath. So you have to practice. So the bodies come, bodies go, lives come, lives go, karma comes, karma goes. We were joking about, there was some particular physical karma that just appeared. And, we have to deal with it when it shows up. But it's just one day you wake up and it's just gone. Where did it go? Where did it come from? It's just magnetism of our own spine, magnetism of our own lives, something to learn in there. But we get so excited about it, we just create more waves. It's harder and harder to see. So let's take a moment and feel for the blessings, the gift, the remarkable good karma. As Yogananda said, we live really on this planet better than any other people's. We have the great good karma. Let's not waste it in restlessness. Let's not waste it in avoidance. Let's not waste it in fear or tension or anxiety. Let's open ourselves to the gifts of these great masters, to the gifts that we have been given to help us discover that great ocean of awareness, the great ocean of spirit that's right there all the time. Music.